Okay. Now, these biomass resources can be divided into three categories. Okay. Number one, biomass in its traditional form, okay, like wood and agricultural residue. In some of the village sites, it is directly burnt, okay, to heat the water or to cook food, etc. For various applications, or so this here biomass in traditional form directly it is burnt. So biomass in non-traditional form, that is, they are fermented in closed containers to produce ethanol or methanol, okay, which are alcohols, okay, or biomass in gaseous form. Okay, so there will be certain reactors in which if this biomass is added with certain additives and fermented for 15 to 21 days, a sort of gas will be reduced that can be used for combustion. That is, it can be used for cooking, okay, water heating, various purposes. Okay, so biomass resources can be of three forms. One in its traditional form, okay, that is solid mass. Second is non-traditional form, that is either in the form of ethanol or methanol, and biomass in gaseous form called as biogas. So before starting, first we have to know about the basic reaction that is helpful in producing the biomass, that is the photosynthesis reaction. I will not stretch too much on this because it is the most basic thing you might have studied long back. Okay, so the process by which green plants utilize the energy by sun to produce organic molecules, the macromolecules, that is to produce glucose by using carbon dioxide and water, is called as photosynthesis. I'll repeat, the photosynthesis is a process, okay, which green plants in which the green plants utilize the solar energy to produce its food, that is glucose, by using carbon dioxide and water. See the balance equation you can see here, 6 molecules of CO2 plus 6 H2O combined together to form C6H12O6, which is a glucose energy matter, and the equivalent of carbon dioxide, oxygen will be produced. Produced. Plants are autotrophs, they are self-producers, they produce their own food. Okay. So here leaves have two important structure, the green leaves. One is called as the stoma and second is the mesophyll cells. Okay. So this is the structure of stoma. So it is nothing but the pores in the leaves through which interaction with the atmosphere takes place. Okay. Sometimes moisture may be absorbed, sometimes carbon dioxide may be absorbed, oxygen may be liberated, etc. So this is the structure where interaction with the atmosphere takes place, and mesophyll cells are the main components which consist molecules called as chloroplast. This chloroplast is a key thing in producing the, in carrying out the photosynthesis reaction. So coming to the first part, that is stoma, as I told, they are the pores in plants, cuticle, through which water and gases are exchanged with the atmosphere. The main communication with the atmosphere takes place with the help of this stoma. It is also called as stomata. Okay. So carbon dioxide is taken in. After the completion of reaction, oxygen is liberated. Equivalent quantity of oxygen will be liberated. So the next important, as we discussed, is the chloroplast. It is an organelle wherein photosynthesis reaction takes place. Okay. So it has a certain membranes called as thycloids. A set of thycloids, we call it as granum. Okay, so this is the main structure. Chloroplast is the main structure in which will activate the photosynthesis reaction. Okay, it is the main source of photosynthesis of green plants. Okay, it has disc-shaped bodies which are 4 to 8 mm in diameter and 1 mm in width. So each chloroplast consists of 1 to 100 such bodies. As you saw here, they are called as the disc-shaped structures are called as thycloids. A set of thycloids we call it as granum. Okay. So when light of appropriate wavelengths fall on this chloroplast, carbon dioxide will be reduced to a sugar and equivalent volume of carbon dioxide, okay, oxygen will be released to the atmosphere. Right. So how it will be, how the reaction takes place is, it is called as the redox reaction. Okay. The transfer of one or more electrons from one reactant to another. Okay. So it is the combination of reduction and oxidation reaction. First oxidation takes place, next the reduction. So it is in short form called as redox reaction. Okay. So oxidation, wherein water is oxidized, and reduction, carbon dioxide is reduced. So this is a set of reactions which takes place in the chloroplast. Okay. So oxidation reaction, what happens is the loss of electrons from a substance, we call it as oxidation in general, or the gain of oxygen. Here water is oxidized to form oxygen, equivalent molecules of oxygen, wherein hydrogen gas gets separated, or OH minus, okay, gets separated here. Okay. In reduction is a reaction wherein gain of electrons, whatever OH minus is lost here in this reaction, okay, the same thing will be gained in this reaction. Okay, so that OH minus combines with 6 molecules of 6CO2 to form the sugar. See, initially what happens in the first oxidation reaction, water gets oxidized into oxygen and hydroxyl ion, OH minus. This OH minus combines with, in the second step, this OH minus combines with equivalent quantity of carbon dioxide to form sugar or glucose. So the first set of reaction is called as oxidation. The second set of reaction is called as reduction. So the put together we call it as redox reaction. Okay, whatever oxidation has taken place, hydroxyl ion is produced. In the second step, it is absorbed to form the glucose. Okay, so in general, this photosynthesis takes place in 2 steps. A splitting of water molecules into H plus and OH minus under the influence of chlorophyll and sunlight. Sunlight is a major part here. Without sunlight, this reaction cannot take place. That is why, see, during daytime, this reaction will be taking place. Okay, and oxygen will be released. During night time, it is not preferable to sleep under the trees or plants. Why? Because they also breathe like human beings. They consume carbon oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. Only during the daytime, when this reaction is predominant, oxygen will be released by the plants. Okay, so oxygen escapes and hydrogen is formed into unknown compounds. In the second set, these unknown compounds or complex compounds combine with the carbon dioxide to form equivalent quantity of starch or sugar, which acts as a food for the plants. So this is regarding the photosynthesis reaction. Just I wanted to brush up. I think you might have studied in your school days in detail. Okay. So in the exam, if they ask you to write a note on photosynthesis, you have to discuss about what actually is the stoma, what actually is the mesophyll cell, and what is the function of chloroplast, and what are the redox reactions. Okay, these 4 points you have to discuss in detail. Usually it will be a question for 6 to 8 marks. Okay, so this is regarding the introduction to the chapter. Okay, next concept is energy plantation. Okay, what do you mean by energy plantation? It means growing selected species of trees and shrubs which are harvestable in a shorter time, okay, which are specifically meant for fuel. See, plantations are nothing but a specific class of trees are grown, which will be growing at a very faster rate, okay, and they will be cut and used as a fuel. Yeah, the fuel wood may be either directly in wood burning stoves. As we discussed, it can be used in 3 forms. One is directly you can cut and burn it to get the heat. That heat can be used for cooking food or heating water or any other purpose. The second method is you can convert it into methanol or ethanol by fermentation process, or the third method is you can produce gas, biogas, and you can use it. So from the energy plantation, whatever is the output, you can use it in any of the 3 forms. Okay, so energy plantation is the practice of planting trees purely for the purpose of fuel. So you are not growing it for the food purpose. Okay, it will not give any fruits, okay, or any vegetables as output. Yeah, purely they grow at a very faster rate, and whatever the remainings and the cut up are there, that can be used as a fuel. Okay, so the wood plants has been used since long time to generate fire for cooking, other purposes. In recent years, to meet the demand of energy, plantation of energy plants has been re-emphasized. Again, this concept is becoming popular. It has 2 advantages. Usually, they are grown in the outskirts, barren lands. Yeah, and these plantation trees are selected such that they require very lesser quantity of water. Okay, so when you grow that, there will be dual advantages to some extent. Okay, they will compensate the fuel. Okay, you need not depend on the fossil fuels. And the second is they are the major oxygen producers because they grow at a very fast rate. Good amount of carbon dioxide will be taken up and oxygen will be given out. So this is the concept of energy plantation. You can just make a note of it. what are the advantages? As already we have discussed, byproducts of energy plantation can be used for livestock such as cattle, sheep, etc. Okay, honeybee farm that utilizes the flowers of energy crops. Sometimes certain plants give out energy. You can see them on the roadsides. Okay, so they give out certain waste flow that can be used for honeybee farming. Energy plantation absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Okay, hence application of wood pellets is carbon neutral activity. So what do you mean by this? Wood pellets, even if you burn whatever carbon dioxide is given out to the atmosphere, we cannot call it as pollution. Why? Because in the process of formation of this wood pellets, okay, carbon dioxide is consumed from the atmosphere. Okay, if 100 parts of carbon dioxide is consumed, okay, only 10 parts will be given out. Only 10% of the CO2 is given out. So in general, we cannot we can call it as carbon neutral activity. Okay, uncultivated or marginal land or barren land will of millions of hectares are available. Okay, you can select the crops which can grow with very little water, and that can be used. Okay. We can just improve the soil conditions by marginal fertilization. Okay, so it has two benefits: the erosion of top layer of soil, because see how these barren lands continue to be in the same form. Why? Because if there is any minerals added to them because of some natural activities during the rainy season, the top layer will be moved out. Okay, it will be washed away and they move along with the stream. The top layer is the most important layer, which consists of certain nutrients for the plants. Okay, so when in the forest this problem will not happen. The soil will be always fertile. Why? Because there will be a dense trees. Even though there is huge rain, these nutrients will be blocked here and there, and they cannot move out of the top layer. Okay, so whenever you start growing such plantations in the barren lands over 1 or 2 seasons, yeah, this nutrients gets added up and they cannot be washed away from the top layer, so that those lands can be continued to be used as a plantations. Okay, so these are some of the advantages of energy plantations. The advantages of this biogas, whatever is produced. Okay. How biogas is produced, we will discuss in the upcoming slides. Okay, so it has a number of advantages. One is economical benefits are there. So this biogas technology is based on recycling of readily available resources in rural areas. Okay, so it gives a cheaper and better fuel for cooking. Yeah, you need to just add water and certain limestone to all the wastes, animal waste, human waste, or crop residues. Everything you'll be putting in a drum, and you'll be adding certain limestone and water. Leave it for a certain period of time. Automatically, you'll get the fuel. No question of any transportation. If you go to villages in some of like Dakshina Kannada, you can clearly see. Okay, almost every 2-3 houses they put together, put up a biogas plant. All the waste they'll feed there, and through a pipeline they will get it, and they use it for cooking and water heating purpose. Okay, so an individual can reduce the consumption of commercial energy sources. Okay, if you don't utilize this biogas, obviously you have to depend on some other source, because you have to cook food, you have to heat water. Okay, so you have to either go on firewood, coal, kerosene, etc. Yeah, instead you will be using a biogas which is nature friendly. The problem of uncertainty of availability of commercial energy to some extent can be resolved. Okay, even the rural areas, if they start using electricity without depending on alternatives, there will be definitely a shortage. Okay, because of growing population. Okay, so the rural population of the country uses firewood for meeting their cooking requirements. Okay, so directly using the firewood, what happens? Forest wealth keeps on reducing. Okay, obviously they go to the forest, cut trees, get it for a good amount of distance. Yeah, they use it for 1 month. Next month again they go on, cut 1 or 2 trees, 2-3 families together, get it. Instead, whatever wastes are there, if they start converting it to biogas, the combustion process is better. Instead of directly burning the wood, biogas combustion process is far better, and this cutting of trees can be avoided. As I discussed with you, in that forest, if the density of trees reduces, the fertility of the land also keeps on reducing. Okay. The dependency on chemical fertilizer for agricultural production has increased. This is the major problem in India. Okay. So chemical fertilizers are used because of the lesser nutrients in the soil, lesser fertility, so that it causes indirect health effects. Okay. So whatever slurry is left out, biogas after producing the biogas, after the waste is left out, that is a very good fertilizer. It can improve the nutrients in soil and it can make the soil fertile. Okay, so indirectly the byproduct of this biogas production can be used as a fertilizer, and it doesn't have any side effects. Chemical fertilizers are the dangerous in two ways. They pollute the atmosphere, and the food produced, whatever vegetables, fruits, are of lower quality relatively. Okay. So presently, country is facing the problem of foreign exchange and balance payment. Biogas technology reduces the import of chemical fertilizers again. One is import of fuel can be reduced. Import of chemical fertilizers can also be reduced. Okay. So biogas technology utilizes effectively the manpower and resources. Okay. Whatever local manpower is there, that will be used. Okay. Self-reliance will be there in the society. These are some of the economical benefits of biogas utilization. What are the social benefits? Biogas burns gives shoot less flame and smokeless cooking. Okay, as such, it provides cleanliness in the houses. Okay, you just compare directly burning the wood or burning the cow dung flakes. Okay, it gives out lot of soot. Okay, carbon particles. Also, it is not a very clean process. But biogas burning is as good as your LPG burning. Okay, the cooking on biogas is much faster. Women is not required to waste their time to collect fuel from the forest. Okay, it reduces the drudgery of women who can use their free time for other activities. This is a general point. Biogas produces lightning in rural areas which are far away from the electrical supply lines. Okay, thus it helps the children to use their time in study of employment. It helps in generation of employment opportunity to village artisans. Okay, so this also stops migration of people to urban areas. This is one of the major problem again. The population is not equally distributed. Just corona is one of the best example. Okay, whenever the rate of infection is spreading at higher, what happens? People start moving to their villages back. They might have come for some livelihood to the urban areas. They move there. Yeah, again, the density of population increases in rural areas, infection rate spreads. Yes. Now, first we'll take step by step. Yeah, as we discussed, there are four key biological and chemical stages that takes place. First one is hydrolysis. Second is the acidogenesis. Third is the acetogenesis reaction, and fourth is the methanogenesis. So first, hydrolysis. Okay. So before starting with hydrolysis, see any biomass, it may be crop waste, animal waste, whatever residue it may be there, it will be made up of large organic compounds. Okay, long chain organic compounds. Okay, if microorganisms are the key role players here, which helps in anaerobic digestion. Okay, so when you feed this waste into a digester, into a drum and close it, okay, what happens? The chemical energy that is present in the biomass, okay, it has to reach this microorganisms. Okay, so first step is the macromolecular, that is whatever I said, large organic compounds are broken into small components. Okay, so that when they are broken into small components, they will be readily accessible for the microorganisms to ferment and release the gas. Okay, so the first step is large components are broken down into small components. Okay, so we call it as polymers and monomers. Poly means many chains will be there. It will be a complicated molecule where microorganisms first split them into small chain, okay, components, so that it will be readily accessible. Okay, so this process of breaking the chain and dissolving the smaller molecules into solution is called as hydrolysis. In simple, hydrolysis is a reaction wherein the large organic compounds are broken into monomers or small organic compounds, and they are dissolved, okay, into form a solution, so that when this solution is formed, this solution is readily accessible for the microorganisms for the process of fermentation. Okay, so this step is called as hydrolysis. It is the very first step, okay, of the reaction. You can just make a rough note of it. Then one by one step we will go. When you correlate R4, then you'll understand how the methane gas is formed from the biomass. See, in the next upcoming slides, we will be discussing about the digesters and how they work. So any digester you take, these 4 sets of reaction will take place in sometimes 14 days, 21 days, like that. Time will be taken and these 4 set of reactions will take place. Okay. The second set of reaction is the acidogenesis. Okay, as you see in the chart, the second reaction is acidogenesis. Okay. In the first phase, as we discussed, the solution will be formed. This solution majorly consists of acetates and hydrogen. Okay. So methanogens are the bacteria which converts this acetates. Acetate means it will be a sort of acids and hydrogen. So methanogens are the bacteria which converts this acetates and hydrogen into methane gas. Okay. Now the other molecules such as VFA, we call it as volatile fatty acids. Okay, with a chain length that is greater than acetic acid must be first catabolized, that is breaked into small components. Okay, in the first step, all large compounds are broken into small one. In the second step, only volatile fatty acids are completely broke down, so that they get converted into pure acetic acid. Okay, the H2S gas, that is not hydrogen, it is hydrogen sulfide gas and carbon dioxide gas. Okay, so the biological process of acidogenesis, okay, is nothing but it will break down the remaining components which are not broken down in the first phase. Usually the fatty acids which are having very thick chain will not be broken down in the first phase. So those volatile fatty acids will be broken down into ammonia, okay, carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. Okay, so these will be the byproducts. So this is the second step. So in the first step, what happens? First 2 steps, hydrolysis and acetogenesis. Okay, the complex molecules are broken down into very simple molecules, so that easily the bacteria can convert it into a suitable form of gas. So this will be the second step. The third will be acetogenesis. Okay, wherein acetic acid conversion takes place. Okay, so this is the actual process of digestion. Anaerobic digestion, we call it as. Aerobic in the presence of air, anaerobic means in the absence of air. So you will have a sealed container. Okay, after certain days, hydrolysis and acetogenesis reaction completes. Then when the acetogenesis reaction starts, you will start getting the output of the gas slowly. Okay, so in the first 2 stages, simple molecules will be formed. So in the third stage, that is acetogenesis, these simple molecules are further digested by acidogens. They are a class of bacteria. Okay, they produce acetic acid and carbon dioxide and hydrogen. So in the first 2 stages, complex compounds are converted to very simple compounds. In the third, these simple compounds are further segregated. The chains are broken down. They are converted to acetic acid, hydrogen and carbon dioxide. So this will be the third step. Byproducts are formed. Okay. In the fourth phase, there will be methanogenesis reactions where bacteria called as methogens, okay, will be acting. Okay. This is the final stage of the digestion, wherein this acetic acid, hydrogen are converted to methane gas. Okay. CH4. See, in any chain, the combination of carbon and hydrogen, if you have, it is a very clean fuel. Right? So this CH4 gas will be collected at the top of the dome and it is called as a biogas. Okay, since it is formed from the biological